They never see you coming. That's the architecture of real power. It doesn't parade down streets with banners and brass bands. It moves like a glacier, silent, inevitable, reshaping continents while making no sound. You want the difference between those who claim power and those who hold it? The pretenders perform for applause. The masters simply exist, and gravity itself bends accordingly. Listen with complete attention. What I'm about to dissect isn't theory harvested from philosophy books. This is the blueprint that built the Roman Senate, toppled the Medici's enemies, and forged Napoleon, from a Corsican artillery officer into an emperor. This is how you stop being a passenger in your own life and become the sun that others orbit without choice. Before we begin, smash that like button so this video can reach more people, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe. Now let's begin. Part 1. The Architecture of Certainty. Doubt is a neurotoxin. It broadcasts from your micro-expressions, screams from your hesitation patterns, bleeds through every word you don't say. The world reads uncertainty the way predators read injury. And just like on the Serengeti, uncertainty marks you as prey. But here's what they don't teach in business school. Certainty isn't genetic. It's engineered, built, constructed through 10,000 micro-decisions that compound into an unshakable foundation. Think about the last time someone commanded a room without speaking. What did you feel? Not intimidation, necessarily. Something deeper. A gravitational pull that made you pay attention involuntarily. That wasn't charisma. That was certainty made visible. Your nervous system speaks before your mouth opens. Your body tells stories your words can't override. Every gesture either compounds your credibility or bleeds it. The work begins there, in the biomechanics of your presence. How you hold stillness. How you measure your movements. How you breathe. The architects of power understand this at molecular level. Your inner reality creates your outer dominance. When your mind becomes a fortress, unshaken by opinion or circumstance, people sense it. They don't consciously know why you feel different, just that you do. And they adjust, they defer, they follow. Now type this into existence. My certainty bends reality. Part 2. The economics of attention. Everyone is hemorrhaging attention, desperate to be noticed. They post, they perform, they broadcast into the digital void. And in all that desperate noise, the truly powerful do something radical. They withdraw. Scarcity creates value. This isn't just economics, it's neurochemistry. When you're always available, always explaining, always visible, you become wallpaper, ambient noise. But when your presence becomes rare, when your words are measured like platinum, people lean forward involuntarily. Now here's the paradox of influence. The less you need their attention, the more attention you command. Most people are energy vampires, feeding on external validation like oxygen. But you generate your own. You become a closed circuit of self-sustaining power. Think of it through physics. The sun doesn't chase planets begging them to orbit. It simply burns with such concentrated intensity that everything else has no choice but to circle. Your work is to become that source of gravity, not through force, but through concentrated presence. This demands ruthless curation of your energy. Who gets access to you? When do you speak versus when do you observe? Every interaction is an investment with calculable returns. Stop spending yourself on diminishing yields. The strategic withdrawal creates hunger. When people can't predict your availability, can't decode your patterns, they assign you greater value. Rarity equals reverence. Accessibility equals disposal. This is why Elon Musk's single tweet moves markets while 1,000 analysts, typing simultaneously, move nothing. Carve this into your consciousness. I am the prize, not the pursuer. Part 3. Emotional alchemy. Here's where most people lose before they begin. They become slaves to their reactions. Someone insults them, they detonate. Someone praises them, they glow like uranium. Up and down, back and forth, riding every emotional wave like debris in a hurricane. But the ones who reshape history, they've mastered something crucial. Emotions are data, not destiny. Feel everything. Express strategically. Anger can be surgical when deployed with precision. Affection can bind loyalty when given deliberately. Even vulnerability can be weaponized when timed correctly. The difference between weakness and strength isn't the presence of emotion, it's the mastery of expression. Think of emotions as a vast chemical laboratory. Every feeling is a compound that can be refined, redirected, transmuted into something useful. Jealousy becomes competitive fuel. Fear becomes strategic caution. Pain becomes compressed wisdom. But only if you process them consciously instead of being processed by them. The alchemist of power sits above the storm of feeling. They watch their anger rise and think, interesting. What does this reveal about my boundaries? They feel desire and ask, does pursuing this serve my larger architecture? This isn't suppression. Suppression creates pressure that explodes catastrophically. This is transmutation, taking raw emotional energy and forging it into purposeful action. When you master this, you become unpredictable in the most dangerous way. Others can't manipulate you through emotional triggers, can't destabilize you with praise or criticism. You move through chaos like a submarine through turbulent seas. The surface may be violent, but your trajectory remains mathematically undisturbed. Marcus Aurelius commanded the Roman Empire while Stoic philosophy ran through his veins. He felt everything, grief, anger, disappointment, but expressed only what served the empire. His personal journals reveal the internal battles. His historical record reveals the external mastery. Declare your transformation. My emotions serve me. I serve nothing. Part 4. The Invisible Hand. True control never looks like control. The moment people realize they're being directed, psychological resistance activates automatically. But guide them to believe every choice was theirs. That's artistry. The crude manipulator demands compliance and creates resentment. The master creates conditions where compliance feels like freedom. How? By understanding the invisible architecture of human desire. Every person walks around with a psychological map of their needs. Safety, significance, certainty, variety, connection, growth. These aren't conscious most of the time. They're background code. But when you learn to read these maps better than the person themselves can, you hold the compass to their entire navigation system. This isn't about deception. It's about elegant design. You're not forcing outcomes. You're engineering environments where certain outcomes become the path of least resistance. Like water flowing downhill, people naturally move toward what fulfills their deepest patterns. The strategic question becomes, how do I make my objective align with their existing desires? How do I frame my goal so it feels like their breakthrough? Give someone a direct order, and you trigger rebellion hardwired into human psychology. But help them discover for themselves that your solution solves their problem. Now they're advocating for you without realizing they've been led. This requires patience that most people can't sustain. The chess player thinking one move ahead loses to the one calculating 5 moves out. Your conversations today plant seeds for outcomes next quarter. Your restraint now creates opportunity later. Robert Greene documented this in The 48 Laws of Power. The most powerful move is the one your opponent doesn't see coming. Not because it's hidden, but because you've made it look like their idea. The invisible hand never grabs. It guides. It suggests. It arranges circumstances so that when decision time arrives, your preferred path glows with obvious logic. Brand this on your strategic mind. I shape choices without showing my hand. Part 5. The Weapon of Silence. In a world addicted to explanation, your silence becomes nuclear-grade leverage. Every word you speak is a risk. Every explanation is a potential weakness exposed. Every justification makes you smaller. But silence? Silence is a mirror. People project onto it their fears, their assumptions, their insecurities. And you learn everything while revealing nothing. Watch what happens when you simply don't respond to provocation. The attacker expects defense, prepares for counterattack, anticipates argument. But when met with calm, measured silence, they unravel. The void you create gets filled with their anxiety, their doubts, their self-defeating narratives. This is psychological warfare at its most elegant. You're not fighting. You're disappearing from the battlefield entirely, forcing them to fight shadows while you observe from higher ground. Silence also creates space for gravitas. The person who speaks constantly dilutes their impact. Their words become noise pollution. But the one who speaks rarely, who chooses each phrase like a diamond cutter selects each facet, when they finally open their mouth, people stop breathing to listen. Think of the most powerful figures in recorded history. They shared this quality: economy of speech. Churchill's wartime addresses were events, not conversations. Each statement carried weight because scarcity was embedded into their communication architecture. You must train yourself to resist the primal urge to fill empty air. Let the silence hang. Let the tension build. Comfort with discomfort is power. Most people will crack first, rushing to fill the void with words that expose their position, their weakness, their complete hand. Meanwhile, you remain a locked vault, impenetrable, unreadable, dangerous precisely because your depths remain unmeasured. Inscribe this in the quiet spaces. My silence commands more than their noise. Part 6. The ruthless elimination of weakness. Your empire is only as strong as your weakest discipline. Every soft spot in your character is a doorway for defeat to walk through unchallenged. You want real power? Start with brutal self-assessment. Where do you leak energy? What distractions own you? Which comforts have become chains? The answers will hurt. But they're also your roadmap to invincibility. Most people negotiate with their weakness, like hostage negotiators. Just this once, I deserve it. I'll start Monday. These small surrenders compound into catastrophic erosion of will. But the truly formidable? They're religious about their standards, non-negotiable, absolute, unbreakable. This isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about building systems so ironclad that willpower becomes irrelevant. You don't rely on motivation, that fickle friend who abandons you at 5 a.m. when the alarm screams. You rely on architecture, on routines so embedded they become involuntary. The powerful understand that freedom comes from discipline, not from indulgence. Every boundary you set for yourself is territory you claim from chaos. Every temptation you deny is strength deposited in the bank of your character, compounding daily. Think of yourself as a blade being forged in a medieval smithy. The fire must be hot enough to burn away impurities. The hammer must strike hard enough to compress the steel into something unbreakable. There is no shortcut to this process. The weapon is only as deadly as the forging was thorough. Your vices know you intimately. They know exactly when you're vulnerable, what stories you tell yourself to justify one more compromise. So you must know yourself better. You must become both the guard and the guarded, the disciplinarian and the disciplined. This dual role, simultaneously commanding and obeying yourself, is how you develop the internal authority that later projects externally. When you can govern yourself with absolute rigor, governing others becomes effortless. Jocko Willink, former Navy SEAL commander, wakes at 4:30 a.m. every single day. Not because he has to, because discipline is his religion. And that discipline compounds into leadership that other men follow into combat without hesitation. Forge this into your foundation. I am both the iron and the hammer. Part 7. Strategic Vulnerability. Here's the move amateurs miss completely. Calculated weakness is sometimes your strongest play. When you appear invulnerable at all times, you trigger different psychological defenses. People study you looking for cracks. They withhold trust. They maintain distance. But when you reveal carefully selected vulnerabilities, guards drop. Connection forms, and connection is the ultimate leverage. The key word is selected. You're not bleeding publicly. You're opening specific windows that serve strategic purposes. Maybe you share a struggle you've already overcome, demonstrating both humanity and triumph. Maybe you ask for insight in an area outside your domain, making others feel valued while gathering intelligence. This creates a paradox in their perception. You're simultaneously powerful and human, approachable yet formidable. They think they've seen beneath the armor, but you've only shown them what you wanted them to see. The greatest leaders understood this dance at instinctual level. They could rally troops by sharing doubt before inspiring certainty. They could build loyalty by admitting past failures while demonstrating present mastery. The vulnerability wasn't weakness, it was strategy dressed as authenticity. But this requires exquisite judgment. Reveal too much, and you actually become weak. Reveal too little, and you remain distant. The balance point is where others feel they know you, without actually knowing you at all. Think of it like a fortress with a single visible weak point. Your enemies focus their attack there, exactly where you want them to commit resources. Meanwhile, your true vulnerabilities remain hidden in plain sight, and your actual strength remains unconquered. This also creates powerful contrast effects. When someone is always strong, their strength becomes baseline, expected, unremarkable. But when someone shows measured vulnerability, followed by demonstrations of capability, that range makes the peaks feel higher and the character more dimensional. Brené Brown built an empire on vulnerability research. But notice, she shares struggles she's already processed, never raw wounds. She controls the narrative completely while appearing completely open. Encode this nuance. I show weakness where it serves strength. Part 8. The long game. Patience is violence in slow motion. Every victory rushed is a structure built on sand that the first storm obliterates. The amateur wants results by Friday. The professional knows that empires take decades to build and centuries to cement. This fundamental difference in time horizon separates those who flash briefly from those who dominate continuously across generations. Most power moves look boring in the moment. Skill development, relationship cultivation, knowledge accumulation, reputation, architecture. These aren't sexy. They don't provide instant gratification or dopamine hits. But they compound. Think compound interest, but for influence. Small deposits made consistently over years become mountainous advantage. The person who reads 1 hour daily doesn't see immediate results, but 5 years later, they possess frameworks, perspectives, and vocabularies that make them formidable in any intellectual arena. The same mathematics applies to every domain. The person who trains their body daily, the one who practices difficult conversations weekly, the one who studies human nature through deliberate observation, all are making deposits that will pay dividends when others can't even understand how the gap widened so dramatically. This requires faith in process over outcome, faith that invisible work produces visible results, faith that the person you're becoming in private will eventually manifest in public in ways that feel like overnight success to everyone watching. The strategic thinker plays 3 games simultaneously: the immediate tactical game visible to all, the medium-term positioning game visible to few, and the long-term empire-building game visible only to themselves. Most people only play the first game, which is why they stay trapped in cycles of short-term wins and losses that net to zero. You must develop the capacity to endure the boring middle, the long stretch between initiation and manifestation where nothing seems to be happening. This is where 90% quit. This is also where fortunes are made by the 10% who persist. The truly patient understand that time itself becomes a weapon, outlasting opponents, allowing situations to ripen, letting consequences unfold naturally. While everyone else races toward immediate resolution, you're positioned to harvest the fruits of their impatience. Warren Buffett's entire investment philosophy is time weaponized. He buys and holds for decades while traders panic and sell. The result? He's worth $120 billion while they're still checking stock tickers hourly. Commit to the long horizon. I build empires while others chase moments. Part 9. The Mirror Strategy. Mastery isn't just understanding yourself. It's becoming the mirror that reflects others back to themselves with crystalline accuracy. Every person you meet is a puzzle broadcasting its own solution. Their language patterns reveal their values. Their body language exposes their confidence levels. Their questions show their insecurities. Your job is to become the detective who reads these signals faster than they can consciously hide them. This isn't about judgment. It's about calibration. When you can quickly map someone's internal landscape, you can speak their language, address their needs, and position yourself as either ally or authority, depending on which serves your purpose. The mirror strategy means adaptive communication. With the analytical type, you lead with logic and data. With the emotional type, you connect through story and feeling. With the status conscious, you acknowledge hierarchy. With the independent thinker, you respect autonomy. This isn't dishonesty, it's fluency. You're not changing who you are fundamentally. You're translating yourself into frequencies others can receive. The core remains constant. Only the expression shifts. Great leaders, negotiators, and influencers all share this chameleon quality. They make everyone feel understood because they've developed the capacity to genuinely understand everyone. This creates magnetic pull. People feel seen, and feeling seen creates loyalty that survives everything. But here's the advanced move. While you're mirroring them, You're also subtly introducing elements of who you want them to become. You're reflecting back an enhanced version, slightly more aligned with your vision, slightly more compatible with your objectives. Over time, people start mirroring you back. Your language patterns infect their speech. Your frameworks shape their thinking. Your standards become their reference point. You've become the mirror that actually changes what it reflects. This requires emotional intelligence, far beyond the average. You must be able to hold your center while adapting your surface. Remain anchored to your truth while speaking in multiple dialects. Be both the stable core and the flexible shell. Bill Clinton was legendary for this. In rooms full of people, each person left believing Clinton understood them personally. That's not magic. That's mirror mastery. Reflect on this principle. I mirror others to make them mirror me. Part 10. The final integration. Everything I've dissected converges here, at the point where separate strategies dissolve into unified identity. You are no longer performing these techniques. You embody them. Certainty isn't something you project. It's your default operating system. Silence isn't a tactic. It's your natural rhythm. Discipline isn't effortful. It's who you are when no one's watching. This is the final evolution, from conscious competence to unconscious mastery. The moves become instinctive. The strategies feel like breathing. You're not thinking about power dynamics. You're simply moving through the world as someone who fundamentally understands how reality operates. At this level, you stop seeking validation for your transformation. You stop announcing your growth. You simply become the living proof that different laws apply to different people. While others are explaining why things are impossible, you're quietly making them inevitable. The untouchable state isn't about isolation. It's about integration. You're fully present in the world while being completely free from its ability to destabilize you. You engage without attachment. You lead without dependency. You care without need. This creates a paradox that others find mesmerizing. You're simultaneously accessible and unreachable, warm yet distant, engaged yet detached. They can't quite pin you down, can't quite predict you, can't quite grasp what makes you different. And that uncertainty keeps you perpetually interesting, perpetually powerful. You've stopped chasing, you've stopped proving, you've stopped performing. You simply exist as concentrated force, and the world reorganizes itself around that force, whether you intend it to or not. The crown was never something to pursue. It was something to become worthy of, and now you are. Seal your ascension with these words. I am the force that reshapes reality. Like this video and subscribe for more.